because she's a part of the Judgment Day, and apparently, according to Ringside News, there's been a rumored female addition to OC to battle Rhea Ripley. I think that rumored individual is Raquel. So, with that in mind, how do you feel about Raquel possibly joining the OC?
Um, I'm not I'm not hating on it. It's just that if I felt like it was just easy. Like it was
Mm,
easy to select her because it's like, okay, when people saw Rhea Ripley, they thought of China and DX, and it was a very nostalgic feeling for everyone, but Rhea Ripley still is her own individual. So it was the perfect thing, and it's the perfect dynamic she got going on with Dom. It's still one of a kind, it's still
mhm,
unique. I felt like with Raquel, I do like her look. I do like her as a wrestler. Maybe not agree with her as a person, but I do see why they're very high on her.
mhm,
And they want to give her something to work with. Because one thing she is definitely missing is a character.
mhm,
So maybe they, with their thought process, they thought, okay, well, she has a similar build to Rhea Ripley, and that since she doesn't have a character, she doesn't really have anything to work with. They kind of just been um having her dominate down in NXT, and then having her win a tag team title feud, but still no build to her character. Why not have her um centered around, you know, legends and veterans, and see if maybe she could work something off of there and try to build off from her angle that she had against Rhea in the past. So I do see that. And they might even reference how in NXT that they were technically not the new four horsewomen, but they had a different name between her, Bianca, and Rhea Ripley. So I feel like
yeah,
maybe like with Hunter, with the way that he thinks, he just wants to make another reference to NXT and give her someone that Rhea already worked with while helping to build on her character. I'm not against it because I do think it's gonna work out ultimately. I still preferred our predictions and our choices from last week, as I
mhm,
personally feel like it would have gave a different edge and dynamic to the faction without choosing someone that's just easy to choose.
mhm,
um, I still definitely would have preferred Shayna. I think this would have been the perfect opportunity to give Shayna a push, to give Shayna an edge, to show her versatility as a character. Because again, I love bully Shayna. That's my
mm,
favorite type of Shayna Baszler. And like I said, the same way Rhea Ripley is known for her strength and throwing guys around, I could see Shayna bitching out people and putting them in submission locks and snapping their
yeah,
arms and breaking their phalanges and stuff like that. Like she would have been intimidating the
yeah,
same way Rhea's intimidating. But I guess I could still see it with Rhea, not Rhea, with Raquel. I'm just
right.
not like excited. Like on a scale 1 to 10, they got like a 6.57 out of me. But hey, I'm not gonna knock it because she might just shock me because we have not quite met the true potential of Raquel as a character. But it's
Mhm,
beyond trying to push forth that she's Latina, you know.
yeah.
So what do you think about it?
On the contrary, I'm actually pretty excited. I obviously wanted Asuka and would have loved to see Shayna as well. But the more that I think about Rhea, the more that I think that it makes sense. Number one, yes, it is a reference to NXT. But number two, Rhea and Raquel already have chemistry. They already have in ring chemistry. They used to be a tag team down in NXT. They've had matches down in NXT. And so when you're not sure of how something works out or how it can potentially work out, you want to pick the closest thing to certainty that you possibly can. One of the things that made Raquel so special in NXT was her aggression, was her grit. She used to pull up on the motorcycle. She was had the leather trench coat. Like she was a bad girl. You know what I mean? And I feel like her aligning herself with the OC can kind of reinstate that, because I feel like the moment she hit the main roster and even won the tag titles, yes, she had some good matches, but she was always smiling and posing and appeasing and appealing to people. But she needs to be around some mean folks. And I think that putting her next to Carl Anderson, putting her next to Luke Gallows and AJ Styles is going to reinstill that aggression that made her so special down in NXT. So I actually, on the contrary, I'm actually very, very eager to see how this works out because we've seen what Rhea can be as like the super sparkly baby face, and we've seen shades of what she can be as either a heel or someone who's just a bad woman. And I've leaned more towards her as being that bad, aggressive woman than her being that sparkly heel, and seeing that, like seeing her being a bad woman going up against Rhea Ripley, that's gonna be a great match. That's gonna be we talk about like the whole, and we'll get into it later in the show, like the Braun Strowman, Omos, big men, and we talked about like Walter and Sheamus and how like they had like these big men battles. I don't think that we've had an equivalent to that with the women. And I feel like they have an opportunity to do something like that with
NXT?
women. Huh? No, on the main roster. Like they haven't really had something like
Oh,
that
on the
on the
main
main
roster. Okay, my apologies.
you know what I mean? So I feel
Okay,
like
got
if
it.
if Raquel is the addition to the OC, I feel like they have an opportunity to create something special that we haven't seen and that we may not have asked for, but when we see it, we're gonna be like, oh, this is fire. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be like a Bobby Brock equivalent down the line
Exactly.
if they, like, just give them their own, like, storyline to run with. Yeah,
hmm I think so,
that'd
and
be
that could be,
fire.
and that could
Okay,
operate
I see.
as a,
I pick up what you're throwing down.
you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
and this could also operate as a feud outside of the women's title picture that is important. You know what I mean? And that has title implications. So just off of that, I'm excited. So, but we gonna move. We gonna